After all the craziness of tonight, after Rob stole the chat and everything got topsy-turvy and we saw monkeys fighting meat monsters, I guess there's only one thing left to do to finish off the night, and that is to talk about what happened in cartoons this week. And so, the week wasn't actually as eventful as I was hoping it would be. It was just kind of meh. I wish I could say it was a little more than meh, but I don't have, in fact, I'd probably say that on the scale, like, good to bad, this was probably a worse week than other weeks in the past. And I might as well start out with the worst news that came up this week. And some of you may have heard about this already, about what went on. I don't like to report on these. I wish these didn't happen, but unfortunately it's kind of a part of life. The first thing that happened, and some of you may have, again, heard about this, is that we lost a good actor and a good voice actor over the weekend, over the whole week. Our good man, Michael Clark Duncan, who mostly rose to prominence early on when he played John Coffey in The Green Mile, but also did a whole bunch of voice acting roles after that, because he had a very distinct, low, demanding voice, demand respect. I mean, he was Kingpin. He was one guard in the Kung Fu Panda series. He played a bunch of bad guys in a bunch of random cartoons. Basically, if you needed a guy with a low voice who was going to intimidate you, then you called on this man to do the job for you. And it's unfortunate because he was actually pretty young too. He was like in his mid-50s when he died, and he was a big guy. Is pretty much what it was. And it's sad that I was reading about it because one, because we watched Lunatics Unleashed just a few weeks ago, and also because I saw The Green Mile for the first time a couple weeks ago. So I was researching his career, and I was looking up how he was he was a big guy, and he had like medical problems, just trying to maintain that big build he had, and he tried to stay healthy. And I feel really weirded out that just a few weeks after I researched his background that he passed away. So it's a shame. It really is a shame. He had a very distinct voice. It's not easy to have, you can have the low timbre, the high voice, or the crazy voice, but just speaking in your normal voice and being recognizable by that alone is something that I think a lot of voice actors wish they had. Like, some voice actors. He did. Thank you, Jenny reminded me that he had a heart attack. Because again, big guy. Big guy. So there's a blow to the cartoon world that we will not be hearing his voice in any more projects. A toast to you, my good man. We're gonna miss you. So, that wasn't the best news in the world, and I'm sorry that had to be the first thing to start off with. Let's go to something a little nicer in the whole world there. One thing that's a little frustrating for animation fans is that when you have almost 100 years worth of animation, not all of it's been archived properly. There's a good chunk of lost films that just weren't saved properly, or the footage is too scratchy and too damaged to be salvageable anymore. So when something that's really old gets rescued, gets re-renovated or cleaned up or restored as it was, I know the Yellow Submarine film got renovated, re-cleaned up recently. That's a really good remastered, however you want to call it, is good. So Disney has done something like that recently, in where they recently revealed their character Oswald, who was Walt Disney's creation before he made Disney, and they lost custody of it. Then he made Mickey Mouse, and he became a bajillionaire. They recently regained, a few years ago I think it was, regained custody of Oswald for the Walt Disney Company because Disney can have whoever they want. So in this case they took one of the old Oswald shorts called Hungry Hobos, and they cleaned it up, restored it, and presented the footage at the Telluride Film Festival recently. And this may seem to some people, it's so what? For you animation historians out there, this is pretty important because it means that you can actually hold on to as much would have been lost footage as possible. So to be able to maintain that and be able to say, yes, we can save the old cartoons from obscurity, because, I mean, think, they're hand-drawn on cells, they were maintained in not the best condition, they may easily, degrade and just go away, and you can't just redraw the cells, you need the originals or else it's not the same thing. So, a toast to you, Disney, for saving some of the classic animation, well, some older animation. Back in the 20s when animation was still getting off its feet and no one really knew what its direction was going to be. It's good to hold on to those bits of animation because we could really use that. Like, any bit of animation, even if it's just so-so, to be lost to the ether is a sad thing. So, we'd like to hold on to that. Not that we're going to get a renovation of Song of the South or anything anytime soon. I'm pretty sure the only time it's had like a home video release is like in foreign markets, because I know I've seen it before. It was like shown at like a school get-together or something like that, but we're not going to be seeing that anytime soon. So the day that that happens, you will hear about it here. Don't worry about it. You will hear about it here. Don't you worry about that. I will be on top of that. The only other thing that was well, there was a... You all know that the Dark Knight Returns film Part 1 is coming out on September 25th, so in a couple of weeks it'll be coming out there. A few more clips were revealed on that, just reminding people that, yes, this film is coming out, and yes, we are hyping it up as much as possible, so that's that. Just a reminder to people that a bit more footage of it is available, but I think at this point, if you thought you were going to buy it, you would have figured it out already. No more amount of clips are going to convince you to fork over the cash for it. I'm pretty sure if you know you're going to buy it, you already have the pre-orders list. You've already got the cash in your hand, and you're about ready to hand it over to Warner Brothers as soon as the doors open on September 25th. So that's that. But the last thing I wanted to end off on, and this is mixed. This is kind of mixed. I'm not so sure if this is good or not. But this isn't even a story. This is kind of editorial. So I'm going to break away from cartoon news, a little more to cartoon editorial, or whatever you want to call it. An interesting thing happened over Labor Day weekend. I was on vacation. I was going up north to visit relatives, and while we were in the hotel room on the last day, which was Labor Day, we were flipping through the channels, we were packing up, we were getting ready to go, and I happened to come on to PBS, which I have not kept up on. I don't really follow the shows anymore. I only turned it on because Sesame Street was finishing up or something. I was like, sure, I'll watch a little bit of that. This thing caught my eye. While it was wrapping up and they were showing commercials for other shows, one thing caught my eye. It was this, like, Tiger's Neighborhood, something like that. And by the time I was like, something like this, and it looked like just a regular kind of cheap kids show with cheap flash animation. It didn't really look that spectacular to me or anything like that. So when I see this Daniel Tiger's Neighborhood thing and I just think nothing of it, to my surprise, I get home that same night, again, Labor Day, and I find out that that was the premiere of this new show, which is not just a new show, it is a sequel series to Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. I am not kidding you. Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, like 2.0 is pretty much what it is. It was like the original puppet characters from the land of make-believe, children in an animated setting with kind of a similar vibe to it, kind of a similar life lessons, peace and imagination sort of thing. So I'm just kind of surprised. I just found this out. I was like, this existed, and it premiered on Labor Day, so it's kind of news. It's like, new show comes to PBS, Daniel Tiger's Neighborhood. So yeah, the whole concept that, yes, Mr. Rogers got a sequel. Of all the shows that you would have thought would have gotten a sequel, that was what it was? It's like, it's not the same thing without Mr. Rogers, and no, it's not. It's not that. They don't try to make it Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood 2.0. They try to take the same characters as children and have, like, the next group, the next generation, or whatever it is. I like Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. Everyone likes Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. It's like everyone's like, you know Mr. Rogers? I know Mr. Rogers. Mr. Rogers is a hero. So that's just interesting. That's interesting. That's what PBS wants to do with their money. It's a little sad to me that even though Mr. Rogers, the original show, was made on like a shoestring budget, they still made it look like they stretched it out as much as possible. So with this show, it looks like it's on a shoestring budget, but the problem with animation is that if your budget is cheap, unless you're really good about prioritizing the frames like Hanna-Barbera knew how to do, it's going to look cheap. Like really, really cheap. Like, you have no budget to speak of whatsoever, and that's how it looks in this one. But to be fair, a lot of PBS shows in Flash look pretty cheap nowadays. I don't really think it reflects on the quality of the program at all, because you have requirements. It's like, teach kids lessons, teach them friendship, teach them how to be good citizens. So, it just makes me wish that there was a little more money in investments, because that's what Mr. Rogers did. He raised the bar for children's programming, said that they should have just as quality entertainment as you adult people should have, us adult people should. Well, I'm not an adult, I am an immortal person who will ever drink Fanta and Yum. But anyways, so that was the last thing that I thought was of interesting note, is that, yeah, new show on PBS, Daniel Tiger's Neighborhood, the sequel to Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. Oh my gosh. So, I don't really have anything more to add on top of that, except that, let's see, the beginning of September now, so yeah, there will be more new series coming out. Already we're in preparation for stuff like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and 9th Grade Ninja, and the Dragons animated series will have its like proper premiere. More Gravity Falls, more Phineas and Ferb, because I know there's going to be more Phineas and Ferb for the end of eternity. So lots of new stuff to look forward to in the upcoming weeks or so, while everyone else gets new shows. So that's pretty much that on that, and I'm going to finish this and call it a night. So thank you all for joining me, and yeah. I think Mountain Dew's better.